Welcome to this short introduction into what it's like to train to be a history teacher at the University of Sussex. We're going to cover a number of things in this short presentation. 1. What's it like to be a secondary history teacher? 2. What kind of subject knowledge will you need to train to be a teacher? 3. What can you expect during the induction period and in the Friday training at university? And 4, how is the course taught? 5, we'll talk about how you can prepare for the course and particularly for your interview. And finally, we'll take questions and answers. So, what's it like to be a secondary history teacher? Well, what content might you teach at secondary level? Well, at Key Stage 3, you will probably teach Britain basically from the year 1000 to now. And this will be divided up into time periods like the medieval period or Britain 1509 to 1745 or the Industrial Revolution. You may also have to teach a really interesting wider world unit. Some schools do the French Revolution, others may look at African history before the 19th century, or Indian history, or even Chinese history. The national curriculum also requires pupils to learn a study that goes before 1066 and look at their local history. GCSE units are set in stone, but there is some choice. So you will be required probably to teach a thematic study over 500 years of history. Often this is the history of medicine or the history of crime and punishment or the history of immigration or even the history of British power over time. You will also have to teach a British debt study. So often this is on Elizabeth I or the Anglo-Saxons. The GCSE requires you to teach a period study of over 50 years of history. Sometimes this is the Cold War or even the American West in the 19th century. The GCSE also requires a modern world debt study. Many schools choose Weimar and Nazi Germany, or they look at the history of America in the 20th century. And there is a short local environmental study too. But you need to remember that teaching history at secondary level isn't just about content and factual recall. The history curriculum is also designed to help students develop disciplinary knowledge, to know how history works. And this is organised around different concepts such as change and continuity, cause and consequence, and similarity and difference. So what kind of subject knowledge do you need to know? Well, the more you know about the topics you're going to teach, the better. So you probably do need to know about the history of Britain and the rulers. However, you need to remember that we can't possibly know everything about the past. So it's important that you can identify where your knowledge gaps are so you can then go on and fill them. But history teaching isn't all about the history of dead white men. You might be asked to teach about maybe the Peasants' Revolt, as this picture shows, or you might be asked to teach about the Peterloo Massacre of 1819, or you could be asked to teach about the suffragette movement in the early 20th century. You may have to teach wider world units too. So you might teach about the Benin bronzes, the heads of the obas in Benin. You might teach about the slave trade in the 18th and 19th century, or take an element of the French Revolution. And here's a brilliant here's a brilliant painting called The Death of Marat by David. What can you expect during the induction period and in your Friday training? Well, there are 2 different history curriculum tutors. There's me here, Richard, and there's Annette, and we both have our individual areas of expertise and we have a wealth of experience of teaching in secondary schools. We also have visiting teachers and lecturers who come to talk to you, many of them with a national reputation for excellence. During our Friday sessions, we do expect you and encourage you to read and explore seminal and more recent literature that tell you how to approach different areas of history teaching. So, some seminal texts are in front of you. There's Michael Riley's History Garden article explaining how we use inquiry questions to plan units of work. There's Byram and Riley's article on professional wrestling in the history department, which explain to you how to really get stuck into planning. And there's the brilliant Rob Phillips's article here about initial stimulus material, how to make your history lessons engaging and interesting from the start. But our sessions aren't all theory. We try and make them very practical and very hands-on. Here you can see our trainees during induction who have made a timeline showing the developments of World War II, and they're going to use it to explore how different interpretations are constructed. Although theory is important, we do look at it in a practical way. So you might be asked to create a 3D model explaining a certain article and what its meaning is. And the aim of this is to help you really show how much you've understood. Our Friday sessions also involve discussions and reflections with your peers, and there are normally 25 or 30 trainees in your group. We have workshops on how to approach the different assignments, and you have plenty of opportunities to review each other's work. We also model and show you how you might teach effective teaching strategies in the classroom. So we show you perhaps how you could use Jenga to draw out knowledge, or how to construct a role play. There are also visits. We normally visit the Houses of Parliament and the Westminster Abbey and have sessions with their education officers. We visit local schools and sixth form colleges to find out how to teach and mark A-level work too. Ultimately, what you should expect is to get a job at the end of the course. Nearly all of our trainees go on and find employment, either in a local school or in a school somewhere in England. So how can you prepare for the course and prepare for your interview? Brushing up on your subject knowledge is crucial. You might want to study how school textbooks and online websites present schools' history. This will show you how schools pitch their work at certain levels. It's a good idea to listen to podcasts, to read blogs about history, and to get stuck in and watch those history documentaries. Simon Sharma is encouraged. Finally, it's a really good idea to have a look at the History National Curriculum at Key Stage 3. Read the purpose statement. Look at the skills it requires students to acquire, and look at the content it says that you need to teach. This will help you with your knowledge and identify where your knowledge gaps are, so you can go on eventually and fill them. So, that's it from me. I hope this has been useful, and what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to your questions and we will endeavour to answer them for you.